What if you can turn one embroidery design into a whole quilt block? Stay tuned because you can, and I'll show you how.
Good morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
Today is going to be that day. Gonna have things go my way. Embroidery and fashion that sells. Using all my knowledge, I will excel. Stitch by stitch, let color shine bright. Turning a blank canvas into art feels right. Time is flying by and this is my art. With embroidery machines, I'm doing my part. I search the web for a magical design. Looking high and low as I sip on my wine. Metallic thread, watch it shimmer and shine. I transform my blanks into a one-of-a-kind. Stitch by stitch, let color shine bright. Turning a blank canvas into art feels right. Time is flying by and this is my art. With embroidery machines, I'm doing my part.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. It is yet another midday week, right? It is hump day. Yes, it is. And, you know, this week has been pretty eventful, I can say. We've been really, really busy on this end, and yeah, starting to kind of get to you a little bit. So I think my body is kind of saying, yeah, it's almost time for the weekend because we really need it to get here, right? But I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. Thank you guys all for tuning in today. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with Gifts HQ, and on this channel, we just like to have a lot of fun and talk about crafting. We do all kinds of things like sewing, we do demos, tips and tricks, we do some quilting, a little bit of you know, decoupage and knitting and crocheting and just so much more. There's all kinds of little crafts. So if that's something that you're into and you just like to have a little giggle in your day, you're definitely in the right place. So let's see who we have with us today. Let's see, we'll start up on the top. Good morning to Barb Chumley. Good morning to Bettina. Good morning to Marge Roach. We've got Baker McFake. We've got Barb Chumley. Let's see. Oh, our friends from Canada. There we are. We've got Lisa Lilly from Richmond, Illinois. We've got Sherry from New York. Good morning to you. We've got Sue Galvin with us and Linda M. Good morning to you. We've got Robin's Quilt Basket. Good morning to you. We've got Deborah. Good morning. Okay, let's see. We've got Keisha. Good morning from Tennessee. Awesome. Cindy Ball, good morning to you. We've got Jaws Mom from Lake Ridge, Virginia. Good morning. Jenny Owens is with us today. Good morning to you. Let's see, we've got Doris here with us today. Good morning. Joyce Adams is here from Philly. We've got Boricua Sewing and Crafts. She's on her way to New York City. She is on her flight. Awesome. Hope you have a great flight and be safe. Okay, Julia, good morning to you. We've got Melinda, good morning. Delta, good morning to you. Joanna, good morning. And Margarine, good morning. We've got Nancy from Boston. Hey, Nancy, good morning. I just love your name. We've got Chris with us. Good morning.
Mind the gap.
Yes, mind the gap, please. We've got Flo with us from North Carolina. Good morning. Shay Shay's with us this morning. Good morning to you. Let's see. We've got Dimitrik and Kathleen. Good morning to you. Kathleen's from South Carolina. We've got Veta from Michigan. Good morning. We've got Kathy Courts. Good morning to you, and so many others. Guys, thank you so much for all of your support. I truly appreciate it. And I thank you guys for being with me in the morning and spending some time, taking time out of your day to be with me. And I really love to have you here, and it's just a great time to have in the craft room and sharing it with friends. Alrighty, guys, we better get started because we've got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and grab yourself a cup of whatever it is that you have in the morning. You know the drill: coffee, tea, soda, water. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment here. Raise those glasses nice and high because today we're going to need a little bit of patience in our craft room today because we're doing something a little bit different, a little, kind of ad hoc, on the cuff type of a design, and I'm bringing you guys along with me so that we can kind of do this together, and it's going to be a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoy. So raise those glasses nice and high. I hope you have a fantastic day, and cheers everyone to a great day. Of course, we will pour you a cup if you don't have one, so cheers everyone. Oh boy. Oh goodness. Yes. You got your coffee and your bagel. Okay. No worries. Well, my sister's at the airport, so we better get her a bagel, right? She must be rushing through the crowd and going through security and all that stuff. She dropped the video yesterday. If you guys haven't checked it out, it was pretty good. She embroidered on I forget what it's called, but it's a bag.
Carrier.
A wood carrier. Yeah, you carry the wood on there, and she embroidered. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. Nice. Very, very nice. Great job, sis. You did a great job. I love the camera work. You're getting there. Yay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the snacks going because she needs her bagel, and I guess a few people, yeah, you want your tea and everything else. Okay, so let's roll it out. I think we're gonna, get the food cart today. I think we need a little bit of exercise, so give yourself a nice little stretch. We're rolling out the little food cart, and no worries, everything is on that cart. The bagels are there, yes, no worries. We've also got some muffins and some croissants and donuts on there. You can have anything that you want. It's all totally free. Go ahead, put your orders in, and just make the line. And don't forget, we've got carrots and kale for all the healthy folks out there. You can get your little smoothies as well. And oh yes, we need that reminder, guys. We are in March. Guess what holiday is going to be coming around the corner, so we'll definitely need some of that. Yes, so there's our little guy there.
Leprechaun.
Yes, our leprechaun. Okay, so we are ready to go, and guys, I think today's episode, we are going to talk a little bit about two different crafts that I think we all really know and love. So we're going to take an embroidery design and turn it into a quilt block, and we're going to be using a little bit of Embrilliance, a little bit of EQ8, and we're just going to combine the whole thing together and see how it comes out. So really exciting to kind of blend two crafts that you really love to do and just kind of put them all together and see how that works. So it's going to be really, really nice to kind of put all of that together now. So where do we start and how do we get all this going? Okay, so I'm starting off with a design, and this is all around the America 250 that is coming up, right? So we have our series and we're doing multiple red, white, and blue projects. These are all small projects that you can do, trying to use collections that you have already in your room, maybe require a little purchase here and there, but not too much. But we're trying to keep it within your craft room, things that you probably already have. And all of us here probably already have a lot of fabric, and red, white, and blue is kind of all you need, and most of us have that in our craft room. So all you need to do is add a little creativity to it, and boom, you've got yourself something, right? Got a little project. So we're starting off, and this is a design that you can pick up, and this is what it looks like. This is the printout. So this is a printout that I kind of did from Embrilliance. So you're going to see the little template and you'll see the little crosshairs on it. And of course it tells you all of the colors that you're going to need, all of the steps. Everything is listed here for you. Now, of course, you know, me being me, I had to change things around. I can never just take things for what they give it to me for. I always have to change something, right? So you're going to see here within the design itself, it is a great design. I thought it was really nice. I can just picture this on a jean jacket. Oh my gosh. If you have a multi-needle machine with a big hoop, or even a flatbed machine with a big hoop, like, you can put this on a jean jacket and it will look absolutely stunning. I think that is really, really nice. I can just picture that. But I have a little issue with this design, and I'm trying to see if I can kind of fix it and tweak it a little bit to my liking. So a couple things as we take a look at the design, okay? First off, looking at this number 2, number 1, I really love this wing right here with all the little stars. I think that's fantastic. It's going to look great. However, when you kind of blend in the blue and the white stars and then a little bit of the red, you kind of lose a little bit here. This little area is pretty dark, and unfortunately the number 2 here gets a little bit lost. You can't really see it very well. It's kind of dark and dingy over here, and it just doesn't pop. So I will definitely want to do something here to be able to kind of make it pop a little bit, okay? So that's something that I'm gonna look to change. Now, you can change the thread color from a blue to a white or to a gold or something like that, and that would help simply by changing that color. But I also wanted to change the 5 and the 0. And this is where a little bit of my issue comes in. Because of the way the design is made, it looks like the white and the red thread that that's on this design are kind of, how do I say it? I guess I don't want to say baked in, but it's kind of like the way it's stitched out. It's not a solid 5 where I can just change the thread color, because I have this red that I need to deal with a little bit here. So I try to kind of move this a little bit and change this around, and I'll show you guys what I've done here. But we're gonna take this embroidery design and we're gonna make a quilt block, and we're gonna put this embroidery design inside a quilt block. So the idea is for it to end up looking like this. And let me see if I can scoot this over if I'm going the right way here. Let's see. Yep. Oh, close enough. There we go. Let me see if a little bit this way, that might work better. Okay, how about some more? Okay, can you guys see that now? That little better here. Okay. All right, so guys, this is the output that I am looking for. So this is just digitally created on a piece of paper, right? So this is what I want to end up with. So I am trying to create my embroidery design. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to embroider this block right here in the center. I change, or would like to change, that 250 to be white. And you see the difference now on how this pops. I can actually make out the 250. It really stands out and you can read it. So big difference on the original design, where the 2 was kind of getting muddied up and not popping. And so you can see how a simple color change can really transform a design and really make things stand out. So yeah, this is where you take this embroidery design, and I'm going to put this right in the middle. So first step was to get this thing in Embrilliance, make some changes, and embroider it, okay? Once you have that embroidered, then you need to go ahead and do your quilt block. And so this is a pretty simple block, and I want to kind of make this, I mean, you can make this in several different ways. I can just do a standard 6.5 inch block, right? Or I can make this into a wall hanging and just make it a really big block. I decided that I'm just going to make this into a 10-inch block. That's a pretty big block. You can use it as a little wall hanging, right? Or you can just change the size of this and then just use this as, let's say you want to make a table runner, right? And you want to put these on the ends of your table runner. Or you want to center this off and make this as a placemat. Or, you know, any kind of item that you want to stitch this out on, this can kind of be transformed into any type of project. So it's just a pretty staple type of quilt block. It's the sawtooth block is what I believe the name is. But you can take this, and if you don't like this type of block, you can change it and make it into any other type of block. We took a look at some of them that I was able to kind of show you yesterday through EQ8 and how easy you can make a block. You can just simply put it into that block. Yeah, definitely. Lisa Lily says pillow. Yeah, this would make a fantastic pillow, right? If you got maybe a little porch or something in your front of your home and you have a little bench there to sit, this would be great. There you can put this right outside your home and just decorate it with a really nice pillow. But yeah, definitely really, really nice. So this is a great thing to have. It is really, really easy to do, and it's just opens up a whole new world of different things that you can do, because I'm doing this with the eagle and having this centered, but you can do this with any embroidery file, right? Yeah, Flo says, I want to use it for a garden flag. Absolutely, that would be a fantastic flag. Yeah, very, very nice. And you know, I can tell you that this embroidery design, as I've been looking at it, it is a little dense. So it's not something that you want to embroider on something that's really flimsy. You do have to give it a lot of the support that it needs. I did use some cutaway behind it because I wanted to make sure it had enough stability for all of these stitches, and it did pretty well with that. So depending what you are stitching it on, just make sure that you have the proper support for all of the stitches that we have here. Okay, so you definitely want to do that. So go ahead and grab any embroidery design and picture how many embroidery designs you have, like that are for like a baby, right? A little rattle, a little heart, you know, whatever it is that you have, bring the embroidery design and put it in a quilt block, and you can absolutely make a quilt with the embroidery on it. You can even customize things, right? Maybe little family trees and you have little names, right? Things like that. You can do all kinds of things, little letters, you know, you can do anything you want, little dogs, things like that. And you can create your own quilt block. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one. It can be any type of quilt block where you can put the embroidery within the block. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. A panel door hanging. Yes, Barbara, that's an excellent idea. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I like that one. You use a window screen. Yeah. Yeah, ideas are pouring in. I think you guys are starting to get the idea here. But yeah, absolutely amazing on what you can do with this. And I think this is going to be fantastic. So like I said, you know, I started off with the design, and you can see here, you know, you've got the difference here between the two getting lost in with the color and it popping out, you know, a little bit different. You can see how that two has that big difference there, right? And how it kind of got lost, and then now it's kind of popping up there. So definitely something that can be done and changed. Now, I did use EQ8 when I was looking at the type of block that I wanted to do. You'd frame it behind glass. Oh, Chris. Oh, yes. Absolutely. That would be, oh my gosh, that would look fantastic. Yes, I love that idea. Absolutely. And guys, if you make any of this stuff, and Chris, if you decide to put it behind glass, go ahead and take a picture of it. Please put it on our Facebook group. I would really love to see what you guys make with this. Whether it be this design or any design that you make, you can even get your own logo, right? So if you have your own little business, guys, if you got a business, you got a logo, stick it right on a quilt block and display it, right? Very, very simple, easy to do. You know your logo. You can go ahead and, you know, just stitch it out and then put it within that little block. And you can kind of make it as big or as small as you want. And you can kind of display that. So really, really would look fantastic and really make things pop, right? And so I used EQ8 to do the block. And you can see here, it's a very simple block, right? We've seen these all over the place. And I had EQ8 kind of, I told it, you know, I wanted the finished size to be about 10 by 10 inches. And so with 10 by 10 inches, it went ahead and it told me what pieces I needed, the sizing and all of that to be cut so that I can kind of pull all this together. Now, the one thing you have to decide on is once you have your embroidery design, you have to decide, you know, depending on your machine and how big your hoop is and how big you want to make this, you've got to decide on the sizing of that middle square. Okay, that the size of the middle square will pretty much determine how big this block's going to be and how everything needs to be cut around it, right? So since I have decided to make this a 10 by 10 inch square, my embroidery design in the middle, once it's done embroidering, I'm going to cut it down to the size that I need, which I believe is about 5.5 inch squared, right? Because I have to have that extra 1/2 inch to my size, right? So when you're figuring all of this out, make sure you are calculating your seam allowance, right? You want to make sure you have enough on every side to have that 1/4 inch seam. So that's why I have 5.5 squared, right? Because I'll have that 1/4 inch seam all the way around. That's going to go away because it's going to get eaten up in that seam allowance. And so once you have that piece all figured out, then you can kind of figure out the other pieces, and it all depend on what design you are making, whether you're making this one or you're doing square and a square, or you just decided to do some kind of other design, right? So you can definitely, you know, think about the calculations that you're going to need. Now you start thinking, oh gosh, math, yuck. Ah, yeah. Everyone kind of shies away from that. It's kind of not so easy and great to do, but I do have a couple of things that I use to help me, right? So EQ8 is a great tool, but You can also, if you don't have EQ8, you have other reference guides that are out there. And this is one that I have had for a very long time. It's called the Quilters Reference Tool. It's an all-in-one book here. And it is really, really handy because I was able to kind of cross-reference the calculations that EQ gave me with this book and kind of see, am I in the right track? And is the cutting and sizing going to work for this particular design? So I did use this book, but there are all kinds of references out there that you can use that are online as well. Just go out there and search. There's tons of them out there. I don't have any particular favorite one that is out there, but this is definitely one book that I really love because I have referred to it quite a few times. And you can see here, here's the sawtooth star right down here, and it's giving you all of the measurements that you're going to need for that 10-inch square. You can see here, it'll tell you for whatever size, this is the finished size that you want. In my case, it's 10-inch. It'll tell you all of the sizing that you're going to need. So here's 5.5 inch on the bottom here. That's letter D, which it will represent. Let me get this a little closer so you can see that. So it'll tell you letter D, you're going to need one of this. And if I want the 10-inch size, I'm going to need to cut it at 5.5 inches. So it will tell you exactly what you need to cut. And I did kind of cross-reference this with EQ8, just kind of making sure that I did it right. So just wanted to kind of touch base on that. And there's definitely lots of tools that are out there that you can use to help you with the calculation. So don't shy away from it too much because there are tools out there that'll help you figure things out. Okay. And if not, you always have us, right? I mean, what are we here for? We've got to be here to help you somehow. So if you ever get stuck, you know, you got email, you can jump into the chat, you can send us, you know, a message in Facebook or anything like that, and we can go ahead and, you know, figure it out together. So we've got an awesome community, and that's what we're here for. So definitely do that. So that's the little project that I kind of gave myself to do, and I was inspired by another little project that I saw in connecting threads. They have a project that's called Little Patriot. It's a 6.5 inch block that you can make. And this is kind of what inspired the whole thing, where they have you stitching out a design, and then they have a little flag here that you can stitch out, and this is kind of like a little applique. Well, I didn't really have anything to make that applique, and I just thought I'll just make my own, right? And so this is what this one looks like, and it's really adorable. It's on their website. It's less than $5, I think, for the patterns. If you're interested in doing this, you can go to Connecting Threads and you'll see that there. But it is called Little Patriot. It's a 6.5 by 6.5 inch block, and it's just really adorable. But I use this for my inspiration. I decided not to do this one. I wanted to just kind of create my own, and so that's what we went ahead and did. Okay, so that is all the instructional type things that I have. And I've got my embroidery machine back here, and we've been kind of stitching it away. I've got one more color that we were putting here, and let me see, I've got to set it. It still has one last color that it is stitching out, so I'm going to let it go ahead and stitch out that last color. But let's take a look at what we did in the program so I can show you how we got to this end result here. Okay. Alrighty, so here we are, and I want to show you just a picture. So here is just a little picture of the design itself, so you can see it a little bit more closer. And you can see here again, they've got the 250. Now, I do love the 250, the way it has the stars. I think that's absolutely beautiful. I just, you know, in the picture here, it doesn't look too bad, and it's not, it doesn't look too mudded up. but when you actually look at it stitched out, like it's pretty muddy and it kind of gets lost. So you can play a little bit with the thread colors to make this pop and use this design the way it is. But I just decided, let's just take it out and create it to make it be a little bit different so that those numbers really pop. So let's go in to Embrilliance. We'll start off there. We brought the design in, and there it is. And we went ahead and we changed this to be a thread color of white. And the way I did that was really just going through your stitch simulator, putting some stops in and changing the colors. Yeah, exactly. The 250 looks too busy with all those colors. Yeah, and it gets kind of lost in the design. And that's where it's kind of like you want to change it up just a little bit, because you want that 250 to pop out, right? Because this is something that you're wanting to show in your design. So yeah, that's why I just really felt like it needed to be changed. So I went ahead and I ran the stitch simulator, and we can just run that and you can see how that goes. And you can see on the very first thread color, you've got this really kind of a weird background that it's doing. And basically what it's doing is it's setting it up for the stitches that it's about to do, right? And then you have this area here where it is stitching it out. Now, none of these stitches are really going to be seen except for this little area right here. So you'll want to pick a base color for that, okay? And then once it finishes doing that, it's going to bring in the blue, and here comes the wing. So you want something really nice and solid, a really nice royal blue to kind of hint that. And then you have another layout of blue, and this is just giving it a little bit of an accent to the blue, so a little tint on there. Cindy says, does Embrilliance allow to name a thread manufacturer like Floriani? To name a thread manufacturer. I know you can bring in all of your threads, you know, though Cindy, I'm not sure about that. I don't think I've ever tried to do that myself. We'll have to take a look at the options and see if there's a way to do that. I'm trying to think here. Let my juices kind of think through that and see. I'm really not sure. I don't remember doing something like that. So nothing that I'm aware of. Well, you know what? It does allow you to name and create and kind of manage your thread brands. Yeah, actually in the thread editor. The thread editor is in Essentials, I believe. Stitch Artist will have it, and I think Enthusiast. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, actually now I can vaguely kind of remember that, but yeah, I think I'll have to kind of remember how I do that. I'll look into that, and just give me a bit to look into it and I'll find out for you, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. But I'll let you know. Get back to you on that, Cindy. Okay, so in looking at the design, you can see it does this little accent of the blue. So you'll want to be careful on the thread colors that you're picking here. You want that really royal navy type of blue, a really nice dark blue, and then have a little bit of a tint on the wing itself. So that's something you'll have to look at when you're selecting your threads. And then on here, you're going to have a really solid black, which I found to be very curious. The way this one was designed, it has this black layout that it does on the bottom, which I thought was a little strange because I know that it's not going to stitch out in black. But the way this design is done is it lays out everything on the bottom and then just stitching on top. So it's like stitch on top of a stitch. So you'll get a little bit of that contrasting color as it stitches the next color on top, but you also get a little bit of dimension going on in your design, which usually designs are pretty flat, right? They will kind of run and remove the hidden stitches on the bottom, and so you want a nice flat stitch out. Well, I bought this design off of Etsy, so you know, you gotta kind of be careful with the designers, right? But it did stitch out really well. But I did find it interesting how they are digitizing a layer of this black thread and then putting details on top of it. So I was curious to see how that was going to look dimension wise, to see if that's going to give me a little bit of a wave or a type of different kind of look. So very interesting to see that. So I went ahead and left that there. And then as it continues to stitch along, you're going to see the little gray head come in. You've got some little accents that it's putting in here and there. And so it'll go in and make those colors. And then here is where I went ahead, and you can see it's starting to stitch the number 2. So before it got to that, what I would do is I would kind of go here and I would just let it stitch just a little bit of the 2, right? Then I would use my little buttons right here on the side. And this is going to bring this back thread by thread, so you can really get an accurate feeling as to where that stitch is. Okay, so if you hit these little buttons, you're going to see my thread move a little bit, and you're going to see all the little steps that it's taking. So as I kind of go back, you see the little cursor moving, and I'm going to keep going back until I don't see any stitches on that number 2, right? And what I'll do is just keep going. And you'll be surprised how far back sometimes you need to go. And then here, you see some little movements here. But now, boom, it jumped over to this bottom area right here. So this is where it's putting the last stitch here, and it's moving up to the 2. So I would move it one more step. Now it's right at the 2, and then right here is where I would put my stop. When you hit stop, it's going to ask you, your thread color. It's going to ask you what color you want to do, and then you can go ahead and actually, I'll go ahead and hit the stop. And here it's going to ask me about what thread I want to do. This is where you would change your thread color, make it whatever color. It really doesn't matter. The system doesn't care. It just needs to not be the color that it was stitching. So in this case, it was stitching black. So you don't want to choose black, because if you choose black, this machine is just going to keep on going. The idea is to trick the machine and tell it to stop. Okay, then you can pick whatever thread color you want. Let's say in this case, the white, and then it's going to go ahead, it'll allow you, if the machine will stop, it'll allow you to change that thread color. And then you'll be able to move forward and continue with the number 2, right? And so I've already put the stop in. So once I've done that, I hit the white button, I hit OK, and it's just going to continue. Now I'm hitting cancel because I've already done it. But you'll see here on the top that the thread color now changes. And so once it does that, you'll change your thread color, and then it'll continue to stitch out. And now you'll see the number 2 is there with a different color. Okay, and so now it's going to continue. Now, one thing that you can do, and I did not do, you can see right after it stitched the number 2, it stitched this little area here, and you can kind of zoom in a little bit if you like. Let's bring this over a little bit here, and what I can do here, playing with the stitch simulator, you can see where it's finishing the 2 up, and I can just kind of drive the stitches little by little. You see how the cursor is kind of moving. And then as soon as it gets off of the number 2, I can go back and put another stop in and change the color. So right now it's starting to stitch this little side right here. So I could change it back to a black thread color. It's probably what I should have done, but I didn't even notice that. And I continued to kind of stitch it out in the white. Totally fine. It looks great. I'm not too worried about it. But that is how you can kind of change your thread colors, get the machine to stop. And you can, I've selected white. You can pick whatever color you want, but it's not even going to matter, because when you get to the machine doesn't even care what thread color you're putting in there, right? So if, let's say I digitized it with this white thread, and when I go to actually stitch it out, I decided to do red instead, I can go ahead and just swap it out to red. It's not going to matter. Okay, so as the stitch simulator keeps going, it's going to continue to do the rest of the stitches here, and then it will go on to a different part of the design. So let me move this up here and see, let's see what else it is doing. Okay, so let's see, it's just finished that up, and then it's doing a little bit of gray around the body and the feathers, and then a little bit more accent around the body, and then it stitches out the eyes. Then it's going to come over and you're going to see more of the red coming in, and that's where it gives it that little tint here of the red. And see, we had the black, and it has a little bit of the black here, and the red is just sitting on top of that black thread. So that's why I think it's going to have a little bit of that dimension as it starts to stitch that out. But then as you do that, and it's just going to continue to do the rest of the design. Now here's where my problem kind of comes in. See that 250? I'm going to move it back and forth so you can see how it's filling it in. Now it's interesting because the wing, we talked about how it's just stitching out that black wing, and then it put all the threads on top, right? But in terms of the number 50, it didn't do that. It actually just stitched out where it needed to stitch, and then it wants to bring in another color, and it'll come back and stitch it. So I'm a little bit worried about that, because that's not exactly how I wanted the 50 to come out. I want it to come out with the white thread. So I'm a little concerned about that, but we'll see what happens. I went ahead and I put another stop in, and I had it to go ahead and just do white thread, and you can see all the stars are starting to stitch in, and you've got the rest of the 5 and the O. Now it's filled in with that white thread. Okay, so it just put it together a little bit odd. I'll have to see if this makes a difference, or do I need to go back in and fix this design so that it's similar to how the 2 does, and just make it one big fill stitch. So I may go back and kind of fiddle with this a little bit, but it doesn't look too bad. So I'm just going to go with it, and we're going to do this test stitch and see how it came out. And then the rest of the design is just putting in the little, the eyes and the rest of the little black accents all around. And so that is the design in Embrilliance, okay? So went ahead, put that on the machine. I selected all the thread colors. I'm using Sim thread. That's the threads that I have here on the side from me. And then I went ahead and it just finished that last color. So we'll take a look and see how it came out. And this is just a test, so we'll see how it goes. But then I went into EQ8, and now that we have our embroidery all set up, now we need to look at the design for our block, and you can pick whatever block you want. So I've decided to go with this block, and you can see right here in EQ8, this is a 10 by 10 inch block. I've got my center design right here. Can you bring in or import your design? Yes, you can. That's a whole other lesson, and I'm not quite there yet in terms of learning all the specifics on it. So I'm not even going to go there, but yeah, you can do that. You can bring in your image. You can bring in, if you want to fussy cut something, a specific design that you have. This is where this tool will help you out. If you got a logo that you want to put in here, you can definitely bring it in. So at some point I will do the how-tos on that, but I'm just not quite there yet myself. I want to be able to be a little bit more versed on how to do that. So that'll come in a later session, okay? But this is the idea. This is the size that I'm looking for. And on this block here in the middle is where I'm going to bring in the embroidery design. Now you can see the colors here, and I did play a little bit with the colors because these are the fabrics that I plan to use for this particular project. So you can see the little red here in EQ8 does have a little bit of a design on it. And that's because I did not pick color, I actually picked fabric. So when I was putting this together, I wanted to find something that would work. But I found something that was even better. And that is this really beautiful red polka dot fabric. And I thought that this would be perfect for the design. And you can see the little speckles here on the design itself on the paper, but this is the fabric that I picked, and I thought this would be great to go around the actual design. So I really like how that looks, and I think the red polka dots are going to come out just fantastic. I am using white on white, so it does have a little bit of a design on the white. Not too worried about that. And then I'm going to use some blue fabric, and I have this blue here that I'd like to use. Has a little bit of a design as well on it, but I think it's going to work really well right over here. So a little bit of squares with a little bit of polka dot, put some embroidery in there, and we just got ourselves a block, right? So let's take a look at the design and see how this came out. So again, this is a test. We're kind of looking and playing and seeing what we can do here. So let me grab the hoop and get it out of the machine. It says finished embroidering, so I'm going to hit OK. Oh boy, lots of jump stitches to cut out on this design. Let's scoot this over just a bit. And let me show you what that looks like right now. Let me move this out of the way a little bit here. Okay. So guys, this does have a lot of jump stitches you'll have to kind of look out for. I had been cutting the jump stitches as I went through all of the steps, but this is what it looks like before I cut any of the jump stitches. And we'll put this on this side camera so you guys can see that. So lots and lots of jump stitches, but not too shabby, right? I think it really did a wonderful job with the stars. I was a little worried that the stars would come out really muddy, and they didn't. They actually came out quite clear. So I really like how that came out. Yeah, lots of jump stitches to cut. So let me get going on cutting some of those, because we do have quite a lot to cut. So you do have to kind of get in there. And I like to use my little snips that have a little bit of a hook. So this is what the snips look like. And the hook really helps to pull up the stitches and get them going. We had a question on here. Oh, are you embroidering on the same white fabric as the outer white pieces? I am. And are you using two different whites? No, you can if you want to, but I decided not to because on the design itself, let's see, let's go to desk cam. We can show them this. So on the design itself, it's going to eat up a lot of that center, right? So you're not going to see that white fabric too much. That design's going to cover pretty much all of it. You're not going to see a lot at all. But you certainly can do a different one if you want. But I just decided to just use the same fabric as my background white fabric here on the ends as well. So all of this is the same fabric. The only different fabrics that I have is that red polka dot and then the blue with the little squares on it. The rest, so it's just 3 different fabrics. Your red, white, and blue. That's it. That's all I'm using. But you can certainly change it up if you wanted to, okay? I needed the white because I wanted this embroidery design to really pop out. And I didn't want to bring in yet another element into the design. So I thought keeping it simple and keeping it within that same color family would be just fine. So now I'm just going to sit here and cut all of these jump stitches. And trust me, there's a lot of jump stitches on here. So lots and lots to cut out. But Once you are done cutting this out, I put in a piece of fabric. Again, I used cutaway behind it because I wanted to make sure that I gave it a good amount of support, and I do not see any puckers going on here, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then once I get all of these jump stitches out, then what I can do is I'm going to be able to cut this to size. So I'm using a 5x7 hoop, but as I put it on the machine, you can also just make sure that you have enough fabric on all sides to be able to cut it to the size that you want. So make sure, you know, you keep that in mind before you even stitch it out as to what size block you want to do. But once I have this here in place, I'm going to go ahead and cut this at that 5.5 inch squared number. And then I'll incorporate that into my quilt block. And then tomorrow we can kind of stitch all of this out. I'll go ahead and I'll cut my fabrics to the size that I'm going to need, and we can put this block together. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. Let's see. Is that a question? Oh, no. Oh, you're talking about the time change in Canada. Okay. All the shenanigans that go on in that chat, guys. Alrighty, so I'm gonna keep cutting my jump stitches and getting this cleaned up a little bit more. And once I do that, it'll really start to show a little bit better, because oh my goodness, so many jump stitches on here. But I do use my hoop to kind of dig in and grab the thread, and then I like to cut my threads from left to right. That helps when you do that. When you cut your thread, it'll actually pop the thread up, makes it a little bit easier for you to be able to grab it and snip the other side. So that's something that, a tip that I actually got from Becky from Power Tools with Thread. So cut them from left to right, not from right to left, because when you do from right to left, the thread just kind of, you know, settles down. But if you do it from left to right, it'll pop it up, and then it'll allow you to snip the other side. Makes it a lot easier. Never even noticed that until she mentioned that, and that was really a great tip. So go ahead and do that, and you can see, let me see if I can show you that. It's going to be a little hard because the stitches are a little tight, but here's one right here. I'm kind of grabbing with my hook. And you guys see that? It's right underneath my hook. Once I pop this, see how it kind of pops up there? And then you're able to kind of grab it with your fingers and get a closer cut on that end. I'm kind of holding it up, so it's a little harder for me, but you can get the idea here. Okay, go underneath that stitch and snip it, and then you can go ahead and grab the other side. It just pops up just a little bit, enough for you to be able to grab the thread and then go ahead and snip it off. Okay, so you can see here, I'm already taking out a lot of these jump stitches here, but I'm going to continue to do so because I do have quite a few that I still need to take off, and that's going to take me a bit to do. So I'll go ahead and do that. But then once I have that all set and done, we can take it off the hoop, and then tomorrow what we'll do is fussy cut this into the size that we need, and then we'll go ahead and we'll stitch this together. Oh, Faker McFake said, Mr. H asked Nancy if we could remove the jump stitches before stitching. Yeah, we are removing all of our little jump stitches. We're gonna get this out, not before stitching. No, we removed the jump stitches before we actually quilted. Oh, on the software. No, you can't. But if you have a multi-needle machine, at least I know that my sister's does. She's got the Brother 1055X. Those machines will cut a lot of the jump stitches for you. But if you've got those jump stitches that are very close together, the machine will not cut it. And I believe the Luminaire does. There's a few of those machines. It depends what model machine you have. Some of them will cut the jump stitches for you, but for the jump stitches that are very narrow and in between small spaces, the machines will not cut those, and you still have to go in and cut it. So you could eliminate a lot of the jump stitches that you need to cut, but it really depends on the machine that you have, right? So I have the Brother SC 1900. It doesn't do that, and so I have to manually cut out the jump stitches. But yeah, depending on the machine you have, some machines will cut the jump stitches, and yeah, that's another feature to look out for, right? Definitely, if you're in shopping for a machine, you'll want to see if it has that feature, because it does come in handy. Because definitely, as you do these bigger designs, you know, just eliminating and saving you time and not having to cut them really does help. You will still have to cut those that are very narrow. So if you're doing those fonts with these names on them, and if you got the letters close together, the machine may not be able to cut those jump stitches. It's just too narrow, and so it will leave it there, and then you'll have to cut it once the design finishes stitching out. So yeah, but no, not in Embrilliance. You can do it, I guess, for some things, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. I would let it do the jump stitch so it kind of goes over to the next design. Let's see. Will you please lay the scissors flat at the desk cam? Yeah, sure. You want a close-up of the snips. Let me see if I can flip this over so you have a white background. You can see it here.
It's in our shop.
Yeah, it's in our shop. The scissors in our Amazon shop. It's Mr. H will put the link below. I don't know if you can put it in this chat, but we've got the link to it in our shop. But yeah, these scissors are fantastic. I originally had...
It's there.
It's in the shop?
It's the third one. I'll put it...
Okay, yeah, Mr. H found it. It is in the shop. He'll put it out there for you guys. But it's got that little hook here. The first pair of snips that I bought were just plain snips that didn't have any curves. They were just, you know, sticking out. This one actually has a little curve, and it helps you when you're in those little tight places that you can pick up the stitch with this little bit of an anchor here and then snip it right off. Makes it so much easier. Yeah, because sometimes you get too close and you'll cut the thread that you didn't want to cut. Yeah, it happens all the time. So this one really helps to eliminate that. It really helps you be able to pick that one up and then snip it off. The other thing that you can do, you can take a pin, right? You can take a pin, stick the pin underneath the thread, and then you will be able to cut it off that way. So if I had a small, and this is kind of hard for me to show you in this angle, but if I have a piece of thread that's so small in between these two stars right here, right, I can stick my pin right underneath the thread, and when I grab that thread, you see how it kind of, you won't be able to see because of the angle, but if you can kind of poke the thread up underneath that needle, then you can kind of go in with your snips and you can kind of cut it off that way. That'll help bring up that one piece of thread that you need to cut out, right? But this can be quite tedious. It's actually a lot better if you do have these snips. So yeah, makes it a lot bit easier for that. Alrighty, guys, I think that is all I have for you guys today. Again, I'm going to continue to remove these jump stitches, and then tomorrow we're going to go ahead and fussy cut this out to the size that we need, and then we're going to go ahead and do this little star here and add our embroidery design right in the middle. So exciting, right? We'll do a little bit of sewing tomorrow, so that's really a lot of fun. So definitely, guys, I think you guys will really love to do this. So let me know if you do, and go ahead and put it in our Facebook group because I'd love to see it, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate all of your support. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.